All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Think about this for a second. What would you actually do if a recurring dream just kept promising you a hidden treasure? I mean, would you brush it off, or would you literally drop everything you're doing to go chase it? Well, today, we're unpacking Paulo Coelho's incredible allegorical novel, The Alchemist. We're going to look really closely at the underlying philosophy of the book. We'll be pulling from literary summaries, some deep character analyses, and even some heavy-hitting academic research from the RJELAL journal to figure out exactly what makes this story tick.
To set the cosmic stakes here, we really have to start with this incredibly famous quote from Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He tells our protagonist this right at the start of his journey, and honestly, this single sentence is the beating heart of Coelho's entire universe. It proposes a world where destiny isn't just something that happens to you, it's actually a collaborative effort between your absolute deepest desires and the cosmic forces of existence.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover seeking the personal legend, 2 paths to knowledge, the secret of alchemy, destiny versus free will, and finally, finding the real treasure.
Okay, part 1. Seeking the personal legend.
So we start with our protagonist, Santiago. He's this adventurous Andalusian shepherd who's totally haunted by a recurring dream of a hidden treasure at the Egyptian pyramids, and this dream points him directly toward his personal legend. Now, as that academic paper from the RJHELL journal points out, a personal legend isn't just, a career goal or some fleeting wish. It's a deep inner knowing that you have to pursue with total conscious intention. It is literally your mission on Earth. According to the text, everyone actually knows their personal legend when they're young, because back then, everything seems possible. But as we get older, this mysterious force kind of tries to convince us that our biggest dreams are just impossible.
So I gotta pause and ask you directly. Are you pursuing your personal legend, or have the practical, everyday concerns of life just buried your deepest dreams? The reason this matters so much is because Coelho's philosophy suggests that your deepest desires are absolutely not random whims. They're actually expressions of a grand cosmic design, and to deny them is basically to deny your connection to the universe itself.
Moving on to part 2. 2 paths to knowledge.
When Santiago finally sells his flock, travels into the Sahara, and joins a caravan, he meets this really unique foil, the Englishman. These two represent starkly different approaches to seeking knowledge. Santiago, well, he learns through observation. He basically just reads the environment around him. But, this kind of naive, experiential approach lands him in trouble. He gets robbed in Tangier almost immediately because he is just completely unprepared. On the flip side, we have the highly educated Englishman who learns everything from books. Because he knows he's traveling in dangerous lands, he carries a chrome-plated revolver to help him, as he puts it, trust in people.
And the Englishman's preparation is just incredibly intense. We're talking a full decade at university studying alchemy, learning Esperanto, diving deep into world religions, and literally blowing his entire inheritance on rare books. He is desperately seeking the one true language of the universe. The funny thing is, when he and Santiago try swapping methods, like Santiago tries reading the Englishman's dense books, and the Englishman tries to just observe the empty desert, neither of them really grasps the other's style. And honestly, that's exactly the point. There is no single right way to learn. Both of these men are earnestly seeking their ultimate goals through the methods that just suit them best.
All right, part 3. The secret of alchemy.
So, both of these guys are actually out in the desert seeking a legendary 200-year-old alchemist so they can understand the masterwork, which is the ultimate goal of alchemy. Let's break down the mechanics of this masterwork. It's basically 2 parts. First up is the Philosopher's Stone. A solid sliver of this stuff can turn literally any base metal into gold. Second is the Elixir of Life, a liquid that cures all illnesses and grants immortality. This is exactly what the Englishman has spent his absolute entire fortune trying to achieve through all that rigorous academic study.
But here's the thing, Coelho isn't just writing a chemistry manual here. Alchemy in this story is a really profound metaphor for human personal growth. Turning lead into gold represents the continuous refinement of the self. As the Englishman eventually realizes, alchemy is really all about penetrating the soul of the world. So the physical act of, say, separating sulfur in a wood-fueled fireplace, that's really just a metaphor for shedding your own fear of failure. It's all about true self-actualization.
Which brings us to part 4, destiny versus free will.
So this begs a massive question. If our destiny is already set, do our choices even matter? Well, the scholarly perspective tackles this exact paradox. The RJLA journal analysis actually proves this text contains some serious teleological frameworks. And teleological simply means that existence has purposeful ends. But here's the catch. Destiny in this book is definitely not a fixed, unchangeable course that just drags you along against your will. Instead, it absolutely demands your active participation. You have to actively choose to pursue it.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to map out some of the dense theories that govern Santiago's world. Okay, so we already know about the personal legend and the soul of the world, but how does the universe actually guide us? Well, it uses the language of the world. This is basically communication through signs and omens, like those mystical Urim and Thummim stones Santiago carries around. And the universe kind of hooks you in through the principle of favorability. That's essentially beginner's luck, a little initial cosmic encouragement to jumpstart your journey.
And this brings us to the crucial concept of maktub, which roughly translates from Arabic as "it is written." Now wait, this is definitely not a justification for fatalism or just giving up. Actually, it's a profound acceptance of the cosmic order. Think about it. When Santiago gets robbed in Tangier, he doesn't just quit and go home. He chooses to work for a local crystal merchant for an entire year. Recognizing that his hardships are maktub is what allows him to trust that his struggles have a much deeper significance. It perfectly balances cosmic determinism with his own free will to persevere.
This whole interplay between fate and free will reaches an insane climax when Santiago and the Alchemist are captured by hostile tribal chieftains. To save their lives, the Alchemist just casually promises the soldiers that Santiago is going to turn himself into the wind within 3 days. I mean, talk about pressure. Santiago is absolutely terrified, but this is it. This is the ultimate test. To fulfill his destiny, he has to use his free will to communicate with the desert, the wind, and the sun. He leans deep into the soul of the world, whips up this massive sandstorm, and literally disappears, reappearing on the totally opposite side of the camp. His choice and his destiny completely align.
And finally, Part 5, Finding the Real Treasure. So, Santiago finally makes it to the Egyptian pyramids, only to be brutally beaten by thieves. Just as they're about to leave him for dead, he tells them about his dream. And get this, one of the attackers actually laughs at him and says that he too had a recurring dream. But the attacker's dream was of a treasure buried in an abandoned church in Spain where a sycamore tree grows. Yeah, the exact same church where Santiago's journey originally began. It's a massive twist. Santiago's physical treasure was actually back home the entire time, right beneath where he used to sleep. Now, before you go thinking this whole trip was just a massive waste of time, consider what he actually gained. Sure, the physical treasure was always in Spain, but Santiago absolutely needed that arduous desert journey to transform into someone who was actually capable of realizing his destiny. Those relentless tests completely forged his character. He learned the language of the world. He met and fell in love with Fatima at the oasis. He mastered the metaphorical alchemy of self-actualization. Without the journey, he'd just be a shepherd sleeping over a box of gold he didn't even know was there.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. And I really want to leave you with this one provocative question. If the treasure is already at home, is the journey meant to find it or to make you worthy of it? Coelho challenges us to view our own everyday struggles, our setbacks, and our detours not as distractions from our goals, but as the exact necessary steps required to achieve our personal legend. Thank you so much for diving into this philosophical journey with me.